Now, when I tell you that ticker symbol QQQI or the NEOS Nasdaq 100 High Income ETF is the income ETF of the year, I mean, it actually is. It was just awarded the best new active ETF from etf.com. This ETF has been inside my portfolio basically ever since it's been trading, and although I've been a bigger fan of this ETF's brother or sister, SPYI, as time goes on, I really am seeing the power of being exposed to the Nasdaq 100 through a very efficient option strategy. So in this video, I want to break down this ETF, what it has to offer, how it works, and then later on show you some very interesting data, some comparisons, and reasons on why I'm deciding to make this ETF a much larger portion of my personal portfolio moving forward. So if you're an income focused investor, if you love high yield, make sure to stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. My A to Z dividend investing ebook has helped countless dividend investors get started with their journey. And my custom dividend tracker that I'm constantly using here on the channel has also helped so many investors stay on track and allow them to see their dividend income in real time. Well, today I have another treat for you guys. I'm not only going to offer you my A to Z dividend investing ebook and the custom dividend tracker, but also just for a short limited time, I'm going to be adding in my brand new weekly dividend blueprint ebook to show you how you can get started with weekly dividend ETFs and add this into your investing strategy. This offer is not going to last long, so go ahead and click the first link down below in my description, and you're going to get both ebooks and the custom dividend tracker bundle. But like I said, please act fast because this won't be around for long. Now let's get back into the video. Now, just for those of you guys that aren't that familiar with this ETF, how it works, how it generates so much in distributions every single month, and how it offers around a 14% yield right now. First, going over the ETF's investment objective. This is why I'm a huge fan of this ETF because, like I've said before, and I'll say it again, it offers basically everything I personally am looking for as an investor. It says the NEOS Nasdaq 100 High Income ETF, the fund, seeks to generate high monthly income in a tax-efficient manner with the potential for equity appreciation. Now, some investors out there are looking for massive equity appreciation. Some investors out there are only focused on investments that are tax efficient, and some investors out there, like myself, are looking for some high monthly income. Now, this ETF offers high monthly income that is relatively tax efficient, which I'm going to share with you how in a second here, but also the potential for some upside, which is also great, but not necessarily my first thing I'm trying to solve for. Now, understanding how this ETF strategy works, it says the fund seeks to distribute high monthly income generated from investing in the constituents of the Nasdaq 100 index, which, side note, is relatively volatile, and with that implementing a data-driven call option strategy. Now, this ETF is not the first ETF to offer exposure to the Nasdaq and offer a data-driven call option strategy, but from what I've seen so far, it's one of the best to do so. Number 2, it says actively managed by NEOS. The fund seeks to take advantage of tax loss harvesting opportunities in addition to utilizing NDX index options classified as Section 1256 contracts, which are subject to lower 60/40 tax rates. Now, lastly, the fund utilizes a call option strategy that may include both selling and purchasing NDX index options, which may provide some upside for capture in rising equity markets. Now, the expense ratio for QQQI is 0.68%, which is sort of in line with a lot of these newer high-income actively managed ETFs, although to be fair, jepi is much cheaper. Now, the distribution for this ETF is around 14%, and even though just as of last month we saw a smaller distribution of around 53 cents, this most recent distribution of 63, almost 64 cents definitely made up for it and then some. And I mean, to be fair, since inception, this ETF has been pretty consistent. Around 60 cents more or less is what I personally assume this ETF is going to pay over the long term. Now, remember I mentioned the fact that this ETF generates income pretty tax efficiently, in my opinion. If you go to the supplemental tax information 19A-1 notices, you can see all the different payouts every single month. Just as of recently, click on it and it says this. It says in connection with the monthly dividend payment of around 63 cents per share payable back in May 23rd, 2025 to shareholders of record May 21st, etc., etc. It is anticipated that 99% of such dividend will be return of capital. Now, depending on what your own situation is, depending on if you're investing in a taxable portfolio or a non-taxable portfolio, etc. I mean, everyone has their own situation. But for me personally, that is very advantageous, which is one of the many reasons I'm buying much more of this ETF moving forward compared to something like jepi or others. Now, just as a little side note in case some of you guys are curious, I currently, as of right now, I have just over 1,200 shares of the S&P 500 high income ETF from NEOS, and as of right now, I have around 600 or 700 shares of the Nasdaq 100 one. My longer term goal for both the S&P and the Nasdaq 100 high income ETFs from NEOS is going to be to get to 2,000 shares of each of the ETFs, maybe over the next several years, to where I can have a consistent, quote unquote, $1,000 payout every single month. Now, ETFs like this one is relatively new. I mean, it's only been trading since January of 2024. So a lot of times with newer ETFs, you do want to sort of feel out how they're going to perform, especially during different market conditions. And so far in 2025, we've definitely experienced some different market conditions. Which brings me into the next portion that I wanted to share with you guys. The comparison of ticker symbol QQQI versus jepi, for example. If we stack them up side to side and go off the max time frame, which again is early last year, both of these ETFs have performed decently over this time frame, but QQQI has offered over 20% total return, where JEPQ is just shy of 15%. Now again, this goes back to the reason on why I personally hold on to multiple different funds that offer exposure to the NASDAQ 100 through a high income strategy, for example, because not every single one of these funds offer the same exact exposure to the underlying and the same exact option strategy, etc. So for me personally, I own several shares of both these ETFs as well as GPIQ and others, just because I'm a big fan of the NASDAQ 100 because of the volatility that it has, but through a high income strategy. Now here's one of the main reasons that really sold me and gave me the green light to start buying even more QQQI moving forward. If we look at total return based off the max time frame once again, and look at how QQQI has traded versus the Qs. I mean, I personally as an owner of QQQI do not think that it's going to outperform the Qs over the long term, but on the max time frame, this is outstanding. The fact that they both have traded more or less neck and neck. Of course, one of these is offering a lot more growth exposure and one of them is offering a lot more income exposure. But this is very, very impressive, and this is exactly, as an investor, what I want to see. So at least for me, because of this one comparison alone, it really gives me the green light. I know it's a little bit early, but it gives me the green light on stacking even more shares of this ETF, which I've been sort of on the fence of more or less as of recent. So now that we went over some of the basics when it comes to the NEOS NASDAQ 100 High Income ETF, I share with you guys how the ETF works, how the strategy works, how much in distributions it's paid since inception, and even some reasons why I personally am pulling the trigger and grabbing some more shares of this one in my portfolio to the tune of 2,000 shares, hopefully long term. I lastly, most importantly, have a question for you guys down below. When it comes to higher income ETFs that offer exposure to the NASDAQ 100, be honest with me, what are some of your favorites? List them from best to worst. Drop the ticker symbols in my comments down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like on it and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.